Hey guys, this is Micah from Sapulpa Times, and welcome to another special episode. I have Kent Burris, the superintendent of Central Tech, sitting with me here. Kent, this is the first time I think you sat in that chair. This is awesome to have you here.
It's great to be here, Micah.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
the invite.
thank you, thank you very much for coming and being a part of this. So, for those of you who are not aware, we've got a pretty important election coming up on Tuesday, April the 7th, and I believe actually early voting for that starts tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of you guys have been hearing kind of the big deal about it is city council, especially in Sapulpa, city council election is a part of that, and so that's where a lot of our news has been going. But there's actually a really important proposition on there that is about Central Tech.
Yes.
And Kent and the folks over at Central Tech asked if they could come over and talk more about that. And it's great because I've started to get questions and we're going to relay those to you. And I know you've got answers. So
Sure.
I guess we will start by just talking about what is this proposition, what's it for, and we'll do a kind of a summary and then we'll do a deep dive a little
Sure.
bit.
Absolutely. So what we're asking the voters is for a 2 mil building fund increase. And the focus behind that is, and I've preached this in a lot of places,
Mhm.
um, we turned away 402 students last year. There was 1,600 students that applied, 1,400 or 1,200 got in. So that means that 402 students is the exact number that did not get into our programs.
The exact
These
number.
are capable students, eligible students, students who are interested in being in our programs that we had to turn away mainly because of space constraints. So we are completely out of space at both of our campuses. Now we have started a construction project here in Sapulpa. If you've been by there, you've seen that.
Hmm.
But my goal is to take those students off of the wait list because what happens, Micah, is uh, here's your 1,600 students. This is a pipeline of 1,600 students. The 402 that don't get in, they can't just loop back around and come in because the next year another 1,400 students are coming. So again, or another 1,600 are coming. So now there's another 402 that are added to that number. So every year there's 402 students that don't get in. And our research says that that is going to continue to grow at an increasing rate. So by about 12 students a year this next year, then it'll be about 14 students a year the next year. So we're just adding to that 400 plus students that's not getting in.
Okay.
Now they can come back as adult students in like an adult nursing program or surge tech program, adult cosmetology possibly, but that one is full as well, and possibly get back in as an adult. But the likelihood of them, turning around after they've already been out in the workforce to come back to us is limited.
I
Plus,
see.
again, you have the limited number of spots. That pipeline is full of the students that get in. So we have got to expand our footprint, add more training space and more classroom space to make way to take those people off that wait list that want our programs and need our programs to get them into a career that they can enjoy and benefit from.
Okay.
And the other side of that is we have started a pilot, if you will, for early career education with some of our schools. We call it the Explorer program in the schools we have now. It is a rich, hands-on, project-based uh, program for either sixth, seventh, or eighth graders, and they get a true experience 2 weeks in each one of the nationally recognized career clusters: construction trades, IT, personal services, which is like cosmetology and stuff, health careers. They get 2 weeks when they really get to do a hands-on project and explore uh, what they want to be when they grow up. That's the real question that I ask every student that I run into is, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Okay.
And I'll just tell you a quick story. The that was spawned out of my experience, and I call this the story of the feral child. And so my oldest daughter always wanted to be a veterinarian. And, firstborn kids are pretty driven and directed, and she went on to be a veterinarian. My middle daughter wanted to be a teacher. Um, and we try to talk her out of it because teachers, are sometimes monetarily not that successful. But she had to be a teacher. She had a heart for it. She loved it. And she became a teacher, and she's a great teacher now. My son, who's the baby of the family, his mama's boy,
Uh-huh.
he comes along and he's supposed to enroll in diesel because he was always a motorhead kid and we had lots of hot rod projects and stuff. He parent night comes and I see him after parent night. And of course, I'm at this time the superintendent. Parent night comes and goes, and I say, "Hey, did you go see Mr. Elliott, who was our diesel teacher at the time?" And he said, "No, I enrolled in construction trades." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's great," but just threw me a curveball there.
Yeah.
Um, and then so he went through construction trades and really enjoyed that, and went to compete at state and did a good job there. Graduates. His mother decides he's going to college and says, "You're going to college no matter what," because that's what we were taught as kids, my
Yeah. Yeah.
generation.
Me too.
So we enrolled him in college. We found him a place to live in college. I think my wife would have gone to college for him if she'd have had the chance. He did not have any interest in that. He
Okay.
decided after 4 weeks of college he was going into the oil field to work, and it was right before COVID happened, and so he went to work for an oil field service company. They sent him to Central Tech to get his CDL, so he came back as a student again. Then he came back to go through an evening welding program when he was still working for them.
Hmm.
Then he gets in the oil field and COVID hits and oil drops to zero.
Yeah.
And so after a couple of weeks of that, I was chatting with him on the phone, and he said, I said, "How's it going?" And he said, "Well, I'm polishing trucks and I'm cutting brush. I'm supposed to be working on a rig and doing all these other things, and I'm not making any money. I'm making minimum wage on payroll protection. If you remember the
Oh,
COVID,
yeah. Yeah. The PPP.
yeah. So I said, "Well, if you'll come be an electrician, you'll never be out of work." And so he thought about that for a day or two, and he quit his oil field job and came back to Central Tech and went through our electrical trades program as an adult. Um, and so he's found a real satisfying career there,
Really?
and it has been, and he loves it. And he works for an outfit out of Broken Arrow called Coburn Electric, and they do a lot of work in the around OSU and Stillwater. And really satisfying career for him. He really enjoys it, but he's found his spot. Um, so at the end of the day, he has been through construction trades. He's been through a welding program. He's been through our CDL program. He tried college and finally landed on electrical trades. My experience is that students and research backs this up. We only do what we see. If you can't see it, you can't be it. If you don't think about, when I was a child, my dad was a farmer and he was a truck driver to support his farming habit. And my mom was an educator. She was a teacher.
Okay.
And so growing up, I thought I'm either going to be a farmer slash truck driver or I'm going to be a teacher.
Yeah. Because
And I
that's all
think,
you knew, right?
and
That's all you
research
said.
says that most kids, the influence that a parent has on what a kid's going to be when they grow up is like 66%. Or if they have an aunt or an uncle or somebody in their family that does a particular career, they're more likely to be in one of those. Then it's way more prevalent in their mind that they'll do those things than it is something outside that sphere.
Okay.
And so that
Hmm.
is what the Explorer program, that is why it's so important for us to have these early educational opportunities for students to get some hands-on project-based learning. So that is all that to say. The other side of the coin is, those 402 students on the wait list, those are on my mind all the time. And these early career exploration programs that we're putting in all our partner schools, that's the other side of it. So those two things are really the emphasis behind our ask for this
For this.
additional building fund
Oh,
money.
okay. Well, I do want to point out too that I really appreciate, because I am a guy who also, I just love the blue collar jobs and the opportunities that Central Tech provides. It's a big need right now. And I was trying to get my own son, he's a junior at Sapulpa. I was just like, hey, don't forget about Central Tech. Be
Yeah.
sure to go check out Central Tech. And he didn't, much to my chagrin. But I like that even the superintendent of Central Tech had to convince his son
Yeah.
to come back. I mean, but you also gave him like a lot of exposure and opportunity. I
Yeah.
mean, there's like 4 or 5 categories of jobs that he was exposed to through that,
Yeah.
and that's what you're trying to replicate through this Explore program.
Sure. And when you're not happy, when your children are not happy, you're not happy.
Yeah,
Somebody says
yeah,
you're only as happy as your most unhappy child. And when they're struggling to find their path, then the parents that have struggled to help them find their path. That's all you want to do, is for them to be successful as parents.
yeah.
And that struggle is really, I thought, how can we fix it so that people don't waste 4 or 5 years, and not, it wasn't wasted, but so they don't struggle for 4 or 5 years to find something that they're capable and passionate about. When we could do that when they're a junior or senior in high school, or in that sixth, seventh, and eighth grade window,
Hmm.
when they can make some decisions about what their educational future looks like, that puts them on a path to be in a field and in a career that they really find satisfying. And it's not about Central Tech in particular. if they want to be a doctor, if this experience leads them to go on to higher ed to be a teacher or whatever, that's a win
Yeah.
in this instance, because we're just trying to get them there faster wherever they want to be. That's where we want to get them there, without as much wear and tear on the parents and the
Yeah.
students as well.
And their pocketbook, I would imagine,
That's right.
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
and the money.
yeah, you didn't really mention that, but I mean, one of the biggest benefits of Central Tech that I've seen is the fact that you can do it while you're in high school. It doesn't cost you anything to go, and you can, basically graduate high school with a certification of something to go out and get a job and actually begin making money. Not have to necessarily go to a 4-year college somewhere to get a degree that you may or may not get a job in. In fact, you're more likely not to than you are to get one. I think they say 70 to 80% of people who graduate with a bachelor's in something don't even get a job related to their
Related
degree.
to that. That's true.
And so that's why I love Central Tech, is you're giving them the early exposure to these things that are real. They're not kind of in the clouds type professions that
Yeah.
everybody like. I want to be an astronaut, or I want
Yeah.
to be this or that or the other, but they're like real, and you see the guy doing that thing.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So, okay, so well, thanks for that. That was a good explanation of what basically people can kind of see whenever they vote on this as to what's going to be happening. But I did want to ask, so we've had a couple of folks reach out to us. They're not necessarily on board with it, and I think part of it is because we just got done with Dewey's Streetscape project. We had a
Mhm.
2020 geo bond. It was a $40 million geo bond, which I thought was amazing, and then we passed like
Oh yeah.
a $278 million bond for the school, which is now being built. And so Sapulpa has been under construction for a long time, and bonds and all this have been like on people's mind. And of course, when it happens, all you can really think about is, well, how much of my property tax is going to go up and so forth. And I know you guys have actually done the math on this, if I'm
Hmm.
not mistaken,
Yes.
right? So what are you being told as far as what do they mean like per year and things like
Yeah.
that?
So if you do the math on it, and I've checked with our county assessor here in Creek County with
Hmm.
Miss Anderson. So what I tell people is $100,000 of, and I've probably been using the wrong terminology, and that's probably led to some of the confusion.
Okay.
So Haley Anderson and I visited. So let's say your house has a market value of $100,000. So
An,
you could
an
sell it for
assessed
100.
value.
No, this
Market value is different.
yeah,
Is that
this
the
is
wrong term?
yes,
Okay.
this is
Knock
where
me
we're
out.
getting some confusion.
Okay, good.
So the market value, what you could sell that house for, is $100,000.
Okay.
Now you apply what we call the assessment ratio to that, which in Creek County is 12%. And of course we serve 5 counties, so there's different assessment ratios. Most of them are between 11 and 12.
Okay.
So let's say here in Creek County, that's going to be 12%. So $100,000 times 12% is $12,000. Now that is the assessed value of the house, of the property. Okay.
Okay.
Now you apply the 2 mills to that assessed valuation, which is 12,000 times 0.002. So that gives you $24.
Okay.
So that's the math on that. Even some of my staff had a hard time getting
I am still kind of struggling with it,
a lot of
honestly.
people. Yeah.
Explaining
So
it.
the assessment ratio, and every county in Oklahoma has an assessment ratio. And there's places you can go to look up what your assessment ratio is in your given county. But so there's market value, then what people call what the assessor calls the assessed valuation of that property is the market value times the assessment ratio. You multiply that times the millage, and that's how you get to the number, to the $24 per $100,000 of market value. And I have been saying value. I didn't and so that's partially my fault for not being smarter with my words.
Well, I
And
think
so
we were all probably making that assumption because I think that's how we've heard it over the last couple of bonds and stuff that
sure.
we've done. So, just making sure I understand. So, if we have a house that has a market value of $100,000,
Mhm.
then you're equating that to how much of an increase
That would be $24 per year
per
of
year?
increase. Yes.
Okay. And so, I mean, the thing that I always turn to when people bring this up is because I had someone I was sitting talking with last week. We were talking about the bond issues, and they're worried about property taxes going up. And I get it. I do. Inflation is the thing.
Absolutely.
Gas is kind of high. I mean, I get all of it, but it's like I don't know anybody personally who is losing their house over $24 a year
Sure.
property value increase.
And I hope not. And I totally understand people's concerns. There's a lot on the table right now, and um, people are stretched. And I hope that this is not overly burdensome. I hope that the value that they see in this investment is worth it
Mhm.
for everybody. And I feel like it is. But that's what we're asking. I mean, that's the ask. I'm not going to run away from it. I think it's a worthwhile cause.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I personally would agree with that. You guys can vote how you want to on that. But okay. So the other thing I wanted to ask is, or I wanted to kind of bring to light, um, again, I'm doing this because people are hearing so much about other bonds that are happening. I
mhm,
think maybe they're thinking that yours is tied in with some other ones. I guess it's two things. First of all, I noticed when we were looking at the web page and stuff you guys created for this that this is the first time in almost 30 years that you guys have asked for a millage increase.
right.
And
Yeah.
so, well, I was just bringing that up that I know you've built buildings
hmm
within that time span
Yeah.
that have greatly increased what Central Tech is able to provide. And so, um, yeah, I'm guessing that showed that you guys are pretty good with the money, I guess.
I feel like we're good stewards. Like you said, we did pass a 3 mil building fund in 1998. And in that time, what we used those revenues to do a couple of different things. One was we have done one of the things you can do with building fund money is maintenance. So maintenance is a big deal. The
Mhm.
bigger your buildings get, the more it takes to keep them up.
Right.
We have a big truck driver training facility over at Drumright.
Yep.
Considered the statewide program for career tech in the state, and so we have a big investment over there that we maintain. We are adding on to Sapulpa campus. It took us almost 20 years of that 28 years that we've had the building fund to save enough revenue to invest in this new structure over here to take some of the students off the wait list that we're talking about.
Okay.
So,
Took
and
that.
that's our method is we don't take on debt. I have some people have asked me about debt.
Mhm.
We don't do bonds, which are associated with debt. We pass a building fund millage, and then we accumulate the resources to invest in new structures, and that's what that is. So the law in Oklahoma allows you to use building fund money for new construction, maintenance of existing construction, utility bills, some of those kind of things. And so, but really, like I said, our goal for this is uh, taking more students off the wait list
Okay.
in those career exploration programs.
Okay, so the other part of this question that I had that we've gotten from some other folks, and I hear this a lot, especially when we're talking about this is kind of on that line of higher education here, is like, look, you guys are already charging students to go to this school anyway. Why don't you just use that money to build a building?
Sure. It's a great question. And what people don't realize, well, they probably just don't think about it. Majority of our students are high school juniors and seniors, and they do not pay tuition. The only adult only programs that we have are nursing, surge tech, and basic peace officer certification. And so those are the tuition payers, but that does not come near covering the cost. Tuition accounts for a really small percentage of our total revenue package.
Okay.
And so it does not, most of our funding actually comes from local ad valorem. Close to almost 80% of our funding is all
Local ad
local ad
valorem,
valorem. Yeah.
not state
Not
funded.
state funded. No.
Okay. Mm.
Um, like I mentioned, our truck driver training program earlier, we do get a fair amount of money from the state to operate that because it operates in other places around the state. But as far as the programs that we offer, our what we call our regular programs, they're almost 80% funded on local ad valorem dollars.
Okay. Well, and since you brought that up, I do recall that recently we published a story, for instance, about Central Tech reducing the barrier to entry into
Mhm.
the truck driver training program. I
Mhm.
believe you guys were actually, you cut the cost on that quite a bit in order to try to meet that need,
Demand,
right?
yes, we did. We dropped the tuition on that program, and our goal is to break even. We want to provide as much workforce as we can in the form of CDL drivers,
Hmm.
because in Oklahoma, CDL drivers that is the number one workforce need number wise
Really?
in the state. And so we feel like we're having an effect in that area. And so our goal there is to uh, combine all the resources we have and for that particular program, and actually not cost the taxpayers of Creek County anything. So we're trying to hit a zero there by the combination of tuition, and some state funding. That combination, for the most part, we try to make sure that that does not detract any money from the taxpayers of Creek County, because that program operates in other parts of the state.
Okay.
But the goal is to provide a workforce for the transportation industry, which is literally the highest demand in the state right now.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I
Yeah,
mean, I knew it was big. I didn't know it was the
yeah,
biggest.
yeah.
Holy
So
cow.
we did 700, just short 698 CDLs last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goodness, man. And we still the biggest need even after all that, right?
Even after all that, yeah,
Okay.
it's an ongoing need.
Okay, so well, that basically covers the major questions that people brought to my attention that I wanted to make sure we touch base on. Was there anything else that maybe we didn't cover or anything that you wanted to make sure that we let people know about on this?
I just, I would again just the things that I keep telling people, and I'm not here to tell anybody how to vote. I'm really just trying to um, educate people about what we do, what the money's for. Um, and I think about those 402 students. I'm not going to lie. That is something that I think about daily, about the change that two of my kids went through Central Tech. And it was life changing for them. And that's part of that is our mission statement, literally. Um, and I think about those 402 students every day, about how can I move the needle and make it where they don't enter the workforce without any additional training that they need to change the trajectory of their life.
Yeah.
And so that early career exploration piece is critical to helping students find their direction at a time when it can save time, money, and wear and tear on their parents by not knowing. I want to fix that. I want to change that, and I'm passionate about doing it. And I just believe, that this is an opportunity to do that, and I just feel strongly that that's what we need to do.
Okay. Well, it's the first time in 30 years. I think at least it's not something you come around asking every
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
every year
for
for.
sure.
So anyway, guys, I think you got all the information you're going to need to be able to make an informed vote. If you're not doing the early voting, the election is on Tuesday, April 7th. So be sure to go to the state voter portal, check out the sample ballot, see whether or not you're actually eligible to vote for this particular thing we're talking about. Chances are better than average that you probably are if you're listening to this. And so go find out what to vote, go do your duty as a citizen. And thank you again for coming by and doing
Thanks for
this.
letting
I
me come by.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're happy to do it and happy to inform you guys so that you know what you're voting about. So you guys go do your duty as your citizens, and uh, you know, I guess we'll probably see you in another 30 years.
I hope so.
So thanks
All right.
guys for tuning into the special episode of the Time Loop. I will see you guys at the next one. Have a great one. Have a great evening, everybody. Bye bye.